Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. It's time to make a decision. We're at a tipping point here in our society and in our culture. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. We're going to dive into a high-level discussion about the influence of technology on all of us here in the state of Nebraska and how to respond creatively and appropriately for the long term, because we're facing a massive kind of a situation. I know most of us know a little bit about AI or GPT and some of the chat that's going on, but most of us don't fully realize how our lives are going to be transformed. It's a very big word, transformed, and it's important that we're not left behind, and that there is a definite paranoia or anxiety about that around the entire world. Believe it or not, I'm going to give you two statistics that I'm going to ask you to really reflect upon and take seriously. 70% of all the people in this world are fearful about the future. That's their general attitude. They're nervous and fearful about the future. It's never been like that before. And half of them agreed with the statement, "We are doomed." Think about this. We are doomed. Half of the people in this world would agree with that statement. So this is something to think about as we go forward here in Nebraska, and we try to establish, become more competitive, attract population, take care of child care, take care of affordable housing. We've got all these projects going on. And meanwhile, at a higher level, it's a little bit like, I'm sure you've seen this if you watch TV, maybe it's a movie, and just pretend now you're down near the beach, maybe with somebody else, you're doing whatever you're doing down there, but you're kind of near the ocean area, and you look up. You just look up for just a second. We've all seen this scene before, and the ocean is a tidal wave is coming towards you. I know you've seen this before. And it's about a half a mile out there. It's massive, right? And it's moving toward you. And you know in a matter of seconds, this particular movie, in a matter of seconds, you're going to be overtaken by the ocean. Probably will die. And so you take off running. You grab your spouse or your friend or whatever you're doing, and you're running away as fast as you can. You know that you've got to get to high ground, right? You got to get to high ground. And there's a sense of urgency. It's not something you think about and chat about. You take off running. There are many, many people out there right now that believe that's where we are at, only the wave is not the ocean. The wave is technology. The wave is technology. We don't know how to respond to it. We're just dilly-dallying around with it now, utilizing AI to come up with reports or maybe write an email or something like that. But I'm going to tell you this. In 10 to 20 years, artificial intelligence will be as smart as the average human being. Okay? In 10 to 20 years, that's a short time, relatively speaking. By 2050, the technology that exists now will be 1 million times more intelligent, more powerful. By 2015, 1 million times more powerful. Now, what's that going to do to you, your family, your children? As you probably know, there's a lot of anxiety about getting jobs or losing your job. This technology can be extremely efficient, cut costs for companies, of course, that's attractive to them. But you may in fact lose your job. There's speculation that 30% of all of Americans at a certain point now, not too far down the road, will be displaced, just out of the workforce completely. And think about what the implications of that are. There is a frenzy going on right now, people, and it's going to increase, people not knowing how to adapt in a creative and positive way to this, not a tidal wave, a tsunami of technology, okay? So that's where we're at today. There is also another side to all of this, and thank God there is, and it has to do with optimism versus pessimism, of course. There are a number of very interesting opportunities that are emerging as a result of this technology. Different entrepreneurs are utilizing them in different ways, and there's some really good stuff. In fact, actually, the human race, I'm going to go really far on this, the human race could very, likely be transformed, if you will, in a very positive fashion. So think about what I've just shared with you here so far and the implications, again, for your business. Now, here's the thing. We think that optimism, there are optimists out there and there are pessimists, of course, and we think that right now, if you're an optimist, you can play a vital role in the evolution of the business sector and here in Nebraska and so on, and you can really do some things that are important. One thing that optimists, assuming that they want to find the way proactively and positively about how this technology can help us right now and, of course, in the future. This is a relevant and important role for people that have that mental mindset. But one of the interesting things, and I want you now to think about all the communities across Nebraska, Norfolk, Nebraska City, Alliance, whatever. They're all over the state. Just think about that, and think about what you would do with these optimists. In every community, there's an optimist. What they would do if they were empowered to do something that would prepare that community and really make them be able to handle what I've just been talking about recently. And here's what I think would be working. Here's what would happen. They would bring in what I would call an architect of opportunity, somebody from outside. Here in Nebraska, especially out in central and western Nebraska, there's a little bit of, maybe not so great. They don't want to visit with outsiders much. They're friendly and so on, but here's how we do things. This is how it is in our community. We just do it this way, blah, blah, blah. Not always looking forward or looking for different ways to change things. So if you can get an outsider in there that has a vision and the ability to create some kind of a balance in somebody's mind, they come into a community, they're brand new, don't know them, checking it out, a sense that the environment will bolster my self-esteem, I feel good here, this is the kind of place I like to hang out, that kind of vibe, shall we say, very, very important. And that isn't being taken into consideration, of course. One of the things, by the way, that's a problem is that our civic planners are very, linear. They break down things individually, 1, 2, 3, 4, get it all done like that. This is how we've all been taught to think. But as this technology evolves, the conceptual, abstract, right-brained human being is increasingly important. We call them architect of opportunity. I've got this little flyer here. You can see very quickly what the theme is here. This is for consulting firm. But the key idea here in this headline says the trees are not the point. The forest is what matters. So we're talking now about patterns, and this becomes a way of thinking about how to make a community something much more vital and compelling and attractive to outsiders. You'll see patterns described here. This is Picasso's work, as you might know. You can see his images here that he was painting earlier in his career. Very literal, by the way. But think of the patterns that are part of these pictures here. We'll change them now. and we'll go to a different. Here he is further into his career, more abstract, obviously. The same patterns that you just saw in the other image are woven into these images, much more obtuse, so to speak, a little bit more difficult to identify, but this is what he was going through. He took the patterns from the first image and brought them in here. Now remember, I'm bringing this up because pattern thinking is extremely important as we plan communities, we plan projects, we plan digital media, and here he is at his final stages, really, really deeply abstract images, but the same patterns that I've been talking to you about are woven into each of these exciting and just fantastic images right here from Pablo Picasso. So patterned thinking, extremely important as you try to be more strategic and respond to all this technology and get people involved, maybe with an outsider, somebody that has some different experience, something that he or she can share with them that'll help them understand we have to make some changes, probably right here in our community. So thank you so much for tuning in today to WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. As you might know, we've done over 100 shows now, 100 TV shows over the years here, and I'm so, I guess, grateful for the opportunity to share and talk about Nebraska's business and its potential. And some of it is untapped potential, and we're excited to kind of mention that. We're going to do that at the back end of this show. We're going to do a little promotional mode right here. Very exciting to share with you the sponsor of this show, but that after we get done with that, something very interesting and something that I think you'll grab onto. It has to do with college marketing. And so please stick with me on that. All right, WowBiz Nebraska is brought to you by Future Force. Future Force is the name of a system that's designed to help large companies in particular, who have obviously a workforce, laborers and so on, handle them, and of course professionals too, by the way, handle them, deal with them in a more, shall we say, enlightened way. So Future Force, this is a big issue. I'm sure many of you realize that workforce is the number one issue, the number one challenge here in the state of Nebraska. And because people under the circumstances that we have right now in this era, people do leave, turnover's fairly high. People are looking for a different culture or maybe more money or whatever. And in many cases, by the way, they don't feel that they are understood or recognized and that their boss doesn't really know them very well, isn't taking the time to understand what they're there to do and how their life is unfolding when they spend 8 hours a day in the factory or wherever they're at. So it's a very important time right now for workforce, and people are looking for how do they do this? How do they do this? How do we deal and respond appropriately? Well, Future Force not only gives you 12 principles. We train not just the employees, but we also train and coach the managers. This has never been done before exactly this way, but many of the managers need help dealing with the employees, and some of them are challenging to get that done. So it's a very exciting system, as I said before, a 12-point system. We bring it into any organization for 13 weeks, an entire quarter. We do hands-on coaching and small meetings and so on, also Zoom-related things. So this is quite a program, and we're excited to introduce it to the community here in the state of Nebraska and eastern Nebraska in particular. And so look for Future Force. You'll be contacted probably about availability of Future Force. And again, this is a service developed by Nebraska.com. So Future Force is a one of a kind, and I believe it kind of includes all the latest research about why employees are happy or unhappy, and why managers are stressed out, frustrated, not quite sure what they should do to retain and keep the best young folks and workers there in their company. So that's Future Force, brought to you by Nebraska, and we appreciate you listening to our promotional piece right here, and we appreciate Future Force for helping us get this show going. All right, very interesting, huh? Once again, I'm Lynn Hinderaker, and we're going to go into the back end of the show. We're going to talk about a little interesting project, all right? This is how sometimes people will say, you know, I just wish we could come up with something kind of cool or something better or more unique, you know. One gentleman wrote a book, he said, you know, we're all selling meatballs, and they're easy to sell, I mean, they're easy to make and so on, but meatballs are very bland, and they're generic, and you need to come up with a hot fudge sundae or something that is more, these are metaphors, of course, something that is more exciting and interesting and fashionable, perhaps. And that's a very, very interesting point. And it does have something to do with what I'm going to share with you right now at the back end of the show. Now, you saw this flyer, this promotional flyer a minute ago, and I'm going to show you one more time. There's a statistic, there's actually 3 statistics here on this flyer, but at the very bottom of this red band here, it says, and I'll just read it to you, it says 70% find it difficult to build new ideas. Build new ideas, 70%. That's a tough thing to do. So I'm going to switch now, keep this in mind as we kind of move the focus of our dialogue. And I want to talk to you about Wayne State College. Of course, there are many universities and colleges around the state of Nebraska, and they all have their own culture and their style, and of course they have their advertising or theme or whatever it is. But the key in those situations, and of course Wayne State College, they have some billboards around, I've seen them. Big W, okay, that's very common, yellow, gorgeous, big white, or big yellow W. And not much more beyond that. If you go to the homepage at Wayne State College, you'll see in small letters down at the bottom of the homepage, the most affordable college in the state of Nebraska. Kind of interesting that point is at the bottom of the homepage. It indicates that they have mixed feelings about talking about price, of course. They want to emphasize quality. But I'd like to share this with you as a marketing veteran. I took a look at all the colleges, UNL, UNO, Doane University over there in Crete, and some others. And I just evaluated their logo and took a look at their theme, kind of what they're selling. You know, UNO has got the Mavericks, so their theme is we're wild. You know, we're wild, right? And I'm not sure if parents are going to be paying for to have their child or their kids going to college, if that's going to turn them on or not. I don't know. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm realizing that most of it is fairly mediocre. Right? The marketing in the college area and university area, not too much. They don't seem to put a lot into it. But all of a sudden I saw something. We talk about building new ideas now. That's what we're doing. And I put this big W in front of me because it seemed like they had the biggest problem. They had nothing to say in their billboard, just a big W and of course their name and I think a website or something. The others have a little bit more theme. This is what we believe or we stand for. But the thing is this, and then I'm going to reveal this idea. Back in the late 80s, a gentleman named William Prentice, brilliant researcher in the advertising industry. For 30 years, he had a relationship with 100 companies in America, all of them doing a lot of advertising throughout the year. And his relationship was that they would send him their ads, and he could examine them and analyze them, and you know, kind of figure out, and then also their sales trends, right? So he correlated them very precisely, and again, it's a lot of data that he cultivated over 30 years. So he released a report in the late 80s. There was a lot of detail in there, but the primary point that he said, was that you must say something only you can say. Just think about this now. As I take a look at the UNO boards, maybe, yeah, UNL and some others, no, not so much. And any college could say that. Any university could say that. It's completely generic. It doesn't mean that it's bad necessarily or that it's untrue, but it doesn't distinguish the institution. So I'm looking at Wayne State. They've got nothing on their board other than a beautiful big W. And I said the word out loud, verbally, and I said W, 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 double. If you write it down, and you say the word, it comes out of your mouth, W, and you write it down, what do you see? Write it down. It says, you're really saying D-O-U-B-L-E, double, and then the Y-O-U. Right? You really are saying two regular words when you look at the big W and the big logo. Yeah. So you're saying W. Well, this is interesting, right? It's kind of a play on, I guess, a double entendre or a little bit of a pun maybe, but W has huge potential when you're talking to a 19-year-old and they're trying to figure out what to do and they're getting C's and I don't know. I mean, they're trying to figure out who they are and where they're going. So if you're involved with Wayne and you're going to sit down and maybe a counselor says, well, what do you see yourself doing? How are grades going? So on and so forth, et cetera. And they say, well, I think I want to do this and graduate, and I'm probably going to go to a company that does this kind of thing. I don't know, seems like it'd be appropriate for me. And the counselor leans across the table and says, now what if I doubled those aspirations? What if I doubled your credentials? What if I doubled the number of connections and people that you know who could recommend a job? What if there's some way that we could help you double the key things that you like about yourself and the things that you'd like to achieve in the first stage of your career? What if we could double it? Of course, we're talking now about self-actualization, right? Everybody understands Maslow and all of that and how we all want to go up the Maslow's triangle, get to the top, be really happy with ourselves, make sure that we know who we are and what we're doing, and I have some sense of destiny, and I'm in the flow. I really enjoy what I'm doing because it's me. It's me. And I got to a certain point. I'm talking like a student, right? This is who I'm speaking. When I went to Wayne, I had all this stuff. I did okay. And then they challenged me at a certain point, gave me other resources, maybe other helpers, whatever it is, and said, I want you to double it. I want you to be twice as happy as you are right now, twice as well educated. I want you to have twice the number of career opportunities. I want to double you. Huh? I want to double you. Can't you just see a sporting event, maybe a football game or whatever like that? Can't you see people up there and maybe one of the cheerleaders says, double you, right? And people are looking down at a football player and he did a great job and he got a touchdown or whatever. People, double you, right? It's a very actually inspirational thing that implies that at a certain point we are doing really good, better than we normally do. I'm looking at a higher level. That's what that implies. And the people at Wayne State, they're not sure. They don't know anything about me, of course, and so they're a little reserved about that. And they're conducting research and talking to people and what's it all about and so on. And that's great. I've conducted research many times, but in this particular case, there is no need to do any of that. Because a college is supposed to challenge and nurture students at the same time and give them a sense of confidence that they can accomplish what they want to accomplish. So when you say, you've done pretty well, I'm happy for you, I think you're going to do just fine when you graduate in a couple of years, but I'm here to tell you, whatever you're doing that's good and positive, I want to double it. I want to help you double it. And I want you to be more than what you even realize you're capable of being, because you can get there. You can double who you are. I think that makes sense. I think people get that. And I think it'd be a highly interesting process. Here's the, definitely you could have competitions and people who actually took the challenge. Maybe they got C's in a certain subject and they took it on, and maybe got A's, and they got all kinds of special things, and they're embracing the challenge and the difficulty that goes with it. This is just a perfect concept. And by the way, according to Mr. William Prentice, right, nobody, think about this now, nobody could say this. Nobody can say this. Nobody can say that it's built right into our culture. It's built right into a theme. We work on doubling people's progress in their life, doubling their self-esteem. Man, it's too good to be true. Doubling their relationships and making them more than anything, helping them become not just the person they were thinking they were, but the person that's twice as powerful, authentic, and joyful as we thought, or they thought they could be. And that's what we have right here. It says 70% find it difficult to build new ideas. We just built a new idea, didn't we? We built a new idea. Not just a theme, not just a logo, but really a sense of purpose that the entire college could embrace and really, really rock hard with it. I'm Lynn Hinderaker, yes indeed, with Nebraska. Thank you so much for joining us here on WowBiz Nebraska. I appreciate it greatly. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.